Hello, this is a video on the Dreamweaver user interface, and I am going to start with Adobe Dreamweaver 2019. I'm going to go ahead and open up the application. And to start off, let's take a look at the window menu. The application frame is turned on. If it is unchecked, you'll see the computer or desktop screen behind the interface, so you can just select the application frame to bring it back up. We can also see that the Windows Properties panel is selected, and you'll be using that a lot as you begin to work in Dreamweaver. So if you see that disappear, just go to Window and select Properties. I also have the Files panel open. You'll see there's a CC Libraries, an Insert panel, and CSS Designer. So for now, we're just going to start off with leaving the Files panel open. Also, up above on the right, I am working in the Standard workspace. You can switch off between Developer and Standard, but we are going to stay in Standard throughout the course of this semester. If you wanted to create a new workspace, you could also select New Workspace and save it as a name with your custom settings. You could also save your current settings. In the Files panel, you'll see a root folder with the name, and it could be the folder named on your desktop computer. If I click on that root folder, I have some sites already set up here. You may not see any site names listed. If you just scroll down to the bottom, click on Manage Sites, and this allows you to add sites and manage your sites. I have some sites already within that I've already set up here. I can go through and delete those. You don't want to clog this up too much. But for now, what I want to do is import a site that I've worked on previously. If I click on Import Site, then I can navigate to wherever my site is on my computer. I have a site name here called Project 1. And then if I back up and click on my desktop, I can see I have a WIP Work in Progress folder that I've created on my desktop. And I'm going to place all my files and assignments for this class in that folder. Within that folder, I'm going to select other projects that I'm going to place in folders. So I have one called Project 1, and I already have that saved as an STE or site file. And I'm going to go ahead and select that STE site file and open it. And that has all of the organization of the files within that folder already saved. And this is telling me it already exists because I've already imported it. So it's going to rename it as Test2. And then I'm just going to select that as my local root folder. So that's the folder I have on my computer that I'm working on, or my storage device. And if I click on Done, I can expand that folder by clicking on the arrow next to it on a Mac. On a window, it may be a different symbol. It's a minus sign. So if I expand that folder, I can see what is in my root directory. So my local root folder, inside I have a couple of HTML web pages. I have my site file. I have an images folder with an image inside, and I have another folder called ePortfolio with an HTML page inside of it. So you may not have anything yet, so I'm just going to go through and just show you kind of what a root folder directory looks like. So this is just a sample. Now I'm going to go back to Manage Sites, and I'm going to delete that. So I don't need that anymore, especially since I've already got one saved. So when you click on this minus sign, it deletes the site file from Dreamweaver. It doesn't delete your website, it just removes it from Dreamweaver. If I wanted to create a new site, I'm going to click on New Site, and then it asks you for a site name. So I'm going to call this, say, Sample Site, and then it asks you to select a local site or root folder. So if I click on the Browse for Folder, then I'm going to go back and look on my desktop in my WIP folder and select that Project 1 folder and choose it. And now I'm choosing that as my local root folder. And then I'm going to click Save. And it's saying that I've already chosen a root folder with a different name that I've called Test. So that may cause some problems because now I have two sites that are named different names, but they're all pointing to the same local root folder. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that, and then I'm just going to select this site that I've already made called Test and click Done, and that's the site that I just showed you that I put on my desktop in the WIP folder, and that's the test folder. So this may not make sense to you yet until you start working in Dreamweaver, but just wanted to give you an idea of what that root folder and directory and organization looks like. So let's look around some more at Dreamweaver. So now we set up a local root folder. Now if you were ready and you designed this website, now you're ready to upload it to a web host, a remote web server. So I've got the site files in Dreamweaver onto my desktop, but it's not a website yet until I upload the files to a web host. So I need to click on Define Servers, and then if I click on the plus button, it will allow me to choose and include the information in order to connect to a remote web host server. And for us, for most of you, the majority of this class, it will be the ASU App State web host. And I will go through in another video to show you how to set that up. But this is where you would go to set that up. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that for now. Once you do that and you connect to a server, what you're going to do is move your site files from your local root folder to a remote root folder. So right now they're only existing on your desktop or your storage device. Then when you're ready to upload it to a web host to make your website live, you'll need to connect to the server and then upload your files to a remote root folder. All right, so again, there'll be another video where I show you how to do that. Some other things to notice in the Files panel is the naming conventions. My HTML web pages, I only use lowercase, no spaces, and no uppercase. If you need to use a space, let's look in the Images folder, use the underscore. All your web pages are going to be saved with the HTML extension because they are HTML pages. Your index.html page will always be your home page of your website. So you have to have an index.html page, and you really can only have one index.html page per website. You only are allotted one website for the ASU web host, and so your index.html page is going to be the home page for your website. Remember that any images you place on your site need to be in the proper web format like we've been talking about in our web format. So here's one that's a JPEG format. Let's take a look at the views. So I'm going to go ahead and open a file. I'm going to open my index.html page by double clicking on it. Now I have this selected in split view. You could also look at your web page in code view where you only see the code, and that's more for developers. For this class, we're going to be working in split view so we can see the code as well as the design of the page. And if you've been working in Free Code Camp, you will see some familiar code here. We've got heading tags, body tags, H1 heading tags, paragraph tags. So that should make a little more sense to you since you've been doing some of those practice exercises. When I'm in design view, that shows me the design of the page with visual aids. I'm going to go back to split view, and then now under design view you can also toggle and switch to live view. Live view shows you more of what the page is going to look like in the web browser. So take away the visual aids and guides and frames. Mostly we'll be working in design view, and then you can switch to live view to get a more accurate view of what your web page is going to look like on the browser. You can go to view at the top menu and go to view mode and switch to live and design or toggle view mode there. You can also go to code view options and see other options there, design view options. So for us though, we're going to stay in split view, and there's different ways you can view it. If you prefer to split it horizontally, you could put your code at the top or the bottom. I just prefer to split it vertically with the code on the left. Now let's take a look. Down at the lower right corner, there is a preview where you can click on that and it will preview what your web page looks like in the browser. And I have selected Safari and Google Chrome as my browsers to preview on. If you go up to File, Real-Time Preview, you can edit your browser list and you can add different browsers so that you can preview your site on. So I have Google Chrome and Safari installed on my computer, so I will be primarily checking your files on a Mac computer in a Google Chrome or Safari browser. And that's why on the survey I asked you which browser you'll be viewing your site in. And so I'll go back and look at that. If a lot of y'all are using Firefox, for example, I'll look into installing that. But for now, I find most of the students are on Safari or Chrome. Once you have your file, if you make a change to the file, so if I add some more text here, then you'll see an asterisk appear on the tab next to the file name. And that just means that a change has been made to your file and it has not been saved. So if that asterisk shows, it just means that you've made changes and you haven't saved yet. So it's kind of a reminder, then you can go ahead and save your changes. Now I want to close this file. I'm going to click on the X, and I'm not going to save the changes at this point. I'm going to go back to my Files panel and go to Manage Sites. And what I want to do is click on this export icon, and what that does is that saves my file as an STE site file, and it saves all my current settings in my root directory. I already have it saved here, and then once I do that, I can actually remove it or delete the site from Dreamweaver, and then I can always go back and import it again. So if I select it now, I select the root folder, open it, and now it's imported into Dreamweaver. So when you delete it here, remember you're not deleting the site, you're just deleting or removing it from Dreamweaver. So that gives you a basic idea of the interface for Dreamweaver. So let's go ahead and get started in creating your first web page in Dreamweaver.